Hello friends, how are we doing? I'm sitting on the floor again. I don't know, it just kind of gives me like a cozier vibe where I can feel like I can chat with you guys. So today is a part 2 episode of bad interior design trends that I've seen on the internet that I think we should all agree to stop doing. And I'm going to talk about why I think they're not good. I'm also going to give some suggestions of what to do instead, some alternative ideas that I think would be more successful. And I really don't want this to become just some sort of hate account where I'm trash talking other people's interior designs. So I promise that my upcoming videos will be more focused on inspirations and good interiors and not just talking about bad interiors. I do think it's much easier to communicate these ideas in interior design through bad examples and showing how they can be better, because just watching a good example and talking about what you love, I think it can be nice, but I don't know if it necessarily has the same impact as showing the difference. So yeah, I'm going to be doing both in the future, but I do intend to have more of an emphasis on positive design content, just so you guys know, because no one just wants to see someone hate on people. But that being said, today's video topic is bad interior design trends that I hate. So let's dive in. Okay, so the first trend that I feel like I need to talk about is the painted lime wash trend. I feel like this trend already had its peak and it's definitely on its way out, but it came really quick and really hard, and for a moment there it felt like everybody was lime washing every single wall in their house. And I know that this trend was very divisive and people loved to love it or loved to hate it, but I personally have two main issues with this trend, and neither of them are totally against it. So the first thing is, I feel like people took this trend and just went wild with it, and like I said, covered their entire interior with it. And this lime wash texture has a very strong impact. It has a very significant effect on the look and feel of your interior. So I think doing it throughout your entire house is just kind of a lot. I think it's more successful to do this in a smaller special place, maybe a powder room or a hallway or a small entryway, or even a closet or something, some defined room or area in your space that's not going to be really overwhelming. I think things like this, especially when they come in a wave of a trend, are just better used as an interesting little moment and not as the identity of your space, if that makes sense. And my second issue with these lime wash painted walls is much more major. It's not a matter of aesthetics or taste. It's just the fact that they so often utterly disregard the context of interior design. What I mean by that is that if you happen to be renovating a historic Mediterranean villa, lime wash could be an amazing option for you. It would really suit the building that you're in. The look of lime wash is not inherently bad, but it doesn't belong everywhere. If the exterior of your home looks something like this, lime wash on the interior is just gonna feel very wrong and very out of place. So often when the context of an interior is overlooked is when the design becomes unsuccessful, in my opinion. With all interior design decisions, it's really important to look to the architecture of the building as well as the vernacular design language of your neighborhood or city or climate even. And lime wash specifically is just very, very obviously suiting a specific language. And so when it's used outside of that context, I think it just kind of rubs me the wrong way. And I suspect the reason that people are drawn to these lime wash walls is because they're looking for some sort of texture or interest, and they don't just want a plain wall in their space. So if you feel like your home doesn't fit the vibe of lime wash, but you still want to bring in some interesting, unique texture, there's a few things that I think you could do. Maybe you could implement a cool drywall texture, or even a very textured plaster detail. I've seen some pretty cool examples of this that I really love. And I think that the most versatile alternative I could offer that probably would fit a lot of homes that don't match the sort of lime wash vibe that I'm talking about is to use wallpaper. There's a lot of very, very cool, interesting patterned and textured wallpaper, and you can have a lot of fun with it. With all of these solutions, I still think what I said about using them throughout your whole house applies. If you're gonna have like a really impactful statement on your walls, I think you should keep it confined to small areas like hallways and bathrooms and things like that. Okay, and the next thing that I want to speak about, which I guess isn't so much a trend, but it is something that I see really often, and that is having a ton of very small plants throughout your house. I was super guilty of this in my early 20s when I first started getting into plants and first started decorating my own space in a real way. I think what happens is people are too afraid to commit to like a large scale plant, to spend a lot of money on it, and you know, it might die or something. But I've seen so many people that so clearly just every weekend buy a small plant at a different shop, and then their house is like littered with all of these plants, and it just starts feeling really hectic and messy. So if you're starting to get into plants, let this be a warning to just invest in a very cool large plant from the get-go. It's gonna feel a lot better and more intentional and sophisticated in your space. And if you're someone who already has a lot of plants, don't worry, because I think there are some solutions. First of all, I really had like an aha moment when I realized that not every plant necessarily needs its own pot or planter. Like you can combine plants into larger planters and really have some fun with like the design of that. I'm not enough of like a plant guru to know what plants can go together and how much space different plants need, but I have seen a lot of nice, really large pots with multiple different plants inside of them. So consider consolidating your plants into larger planters. And if you can't do that for some reason, I would definitely just try to organize your plants all together, maybe putting them on the same like bookshelf or bench together in like a thoughtful composition. Having them all together in one place in like an intentional way is just gonna kind of combat that feeling that they're like tchotchke that's taken over your whole house. And if you want to go a step further than that, I would really consider getting plant pots that sort of speak the same language and relate to one another. I think when you're like slowly accumulating a lot of small plants, you end up with a lot of different plant pots, and that can really just add to the like visual stimulation and like hecticness of having a bunch of small plants. Have them be like a similar color or a similar material and just speaking a similar language. It's going to end up looking a lot nicer, and it's also going to give your plants like center stage to be beautiful and be seen, and not sort of like compete with these really like diverse plant pots, if that makes sense. Okay, and this next one is wild to me. It is color coordinated bookshelves and libraries. I just think these look so bad. Like I've never gone looking for a book on a bookshelf and been searching based on what color the book is. It just seems really weird to me. Like the Dewey Decimal System is not based on color for a reason. Do you guys even know what the Dewey Decimal System is? That feels like it could definitely be uniquely American. Wait, let me look this up. Okay, I'm really exposing the fact that I haven't used a public library after several years of living abroad, so that's a little embarrassing. Okay, it looks like tons of countries use it. Maybe every country. Fantastic. The Dewey Decimal System, if you don't know, is how libraries are organized, and it's by subject, and there's a whole system. I don't think you need to organize your bookshelf at home by the Dewey Decimal System, but I do think that if you have enough books that it could get confusing, that you should organize them based on the content of the book and not how the book looks, if that makes sense. Like there's just no logic in organizing your books by color, and it just gives me like a very tense energy, like whoever lives in this home thought way too hard about how their bookshelf looks, and it ends up feeling like pretty uncomfortable. And more than that, not to like sound homophobic, I'm gay, remember that, but I just don't love the idea of having like a rainbow in your home aesthetically, because it really reminds me of art that looks like this, which just feels to me like it's really lacking like sophistication or like a nice artistic quality. I don't love the idea of like a very clear color spectrum in your home. And I love organizing things, don't get me wrong, but I just think on like a library or a bookshelf, it comes off looking very strange and not nice. So I wouldn't do this. I would organize your books normally. I also want to give a special shout out to the absolutely disturbed people that organize their bookshelves with the spines facing in. This is so strange to me, and I've seen multiple TikToks of people doing this as if it's like a reasonable option in any way. If your books in your home are only there to give like a texture, I think it's just pretty weird. You clearly don't need them, and you should donate them to someone who's gonna open them up and use them. I really don't see the point of having like anonymous books in your home. All right, and the fourth thing I want to talk about today is synthetic velvet furniture. This took me a while to figure out. I used to think I just didn't like velvet as a fabric in interior design. That was until I started seeing some really cool vintage velvet pieces that looked really nice to me, and I thought that they could bring in like a really interesting texture into a space. And then I realized that the issue is like cheap synthetic velvet that's made from like polyester. You see these a lot on furniture sites that sell really cheap furniture like Wayfair, and they look really strange and really like shiny and just synthetic and uncomfortable. And I think part of the reason that's so terrible is because they're really often like these jewel tone colors, and I feel like they're trying to convey this vibe that's like very luxurious and elegant and like vintage, and they're just giving the opposite energy of that. I think there's a lot of overlap here with the ideas that I talked about in my mid-century modernism video about like cheap mid-century furniture that's sold online today. So if you haven't seen that and you're interested, you can go watch it. But anyway, velvet is traditionally made of like silk or a silk blend, and there are also other velvets made from organic materials like cotton or wool. But I think synthetic velvets are never nice. So if you're looking to get a velvet piece of furniture, I would recommend just like quickly jumping into the specs of the piece and seeing if it's made from like polyester or another synthetic material, because when you're actually in person with the piece, I think it has a pretty major impact on how it looks and how it actually feels like when you touch the fabric. Let me just say, I can already hear all of you in my comments saying like, not everyone can afford an organic fabric material, and some people want the look of velvet, and this is like a cost-effective way to achieve that. And I feel like this idea comes up a lot in my videos, and I just want to say it really clearly right now. Design, all design, including interior design, is all about solving problems within a given set of parameters. And the fact of the matter is our budget is one of those parameters. And I just think it's bad design when you ignore that reality and try to like sneak around it just for the sake of getting the look of something. Like this always comes up when I talk about vinyl flooring that looks like wood. If you can't afford real wood, I don't think you should have the look of wood. It might sound pretty harsh, but I really think that's just bad design. Good design does not need to be expensive, but it does need to be honest and have integrity. And I just think that the inauthenticity and artificial nature of those like workarounds or dupes or faux materials always comes through, and it just really worsens the quality of your interior design. So I would really recommend staying true to honest materials and letting your budget inform your design decisions. Okay, I think that's all I want to say for this week. And like I said, upcoming videos will be less shit-talking oriented and more inspirational, good design oriented. And yeah, I'll see you next week. Love you.